Friends, welcome back. Following the video, Everything Begins in the Heart, Everything Ends in the Heart. Inspired by the late Japanese business magnate and philosophy master, Kazuo Inamori's final book, many of you responded positively and began reading, gaining valuable insights from this respected figure. Today, we will continue to share the essence from another best-selling and highly influential book by him, titled A Simple Life: The Path from Ordinary to Extraordinary. Why do I want to share this book? Despite being a bestseller, it doesn't possess the negative traits of some others that merely aim to please the reader. It doesn't try to guess what you want to hear. Instead, from beginning to end, it exudes genuine sincerity. When you read it, you will feel this sincerity in the author's heartfelt and soulful sharing about how, ultimately, we humans should live. How should we live to achieve material prosperity without spiritual emptiness? How should we live to succeed without losing our freedom or distorting our character? For a man who achieved an astonishing career and was also a devoted philosophical master, pursuing correct thoughts and actions, what was the meaning of his life? Can we learn new and valuable lessons from his philosophy of life and find more inspiration for our own lives? These are the reasons why I want to create content about this book. Now, please listen to today's sharing. 2 formulas that steer life. Ultimately, what do we live for? To understand how we should live, the first and most crucial step is to clearly grasp what we are living for. For Kazuo Inamori, his purpose in life was not to strive for glory and fame through an illustrious career admired by others, but rather to make his soul purer, in other words, how to live so that he could carry a more beautiful and noble soul when facing death. He didn't deny the desires to strive upward, nor the motivations to secure food, clothing, and wealth. However, those things are limited to this lifetime, this existence. No matter how much you accumulate, no matter how great your status, fame, or wealth, when you take your last breath, you cannot take any of it with you. The only thing that remains at the end of life, the one thing that is never lost and will accompany you on a new journey after death, is your soul. Throughout the process from birth to the moment we pass, the most significant change occurs within our souls. Thus, when your soul becomes purer and more beautiful, it means that you are beginning to realize the true meaning of your life. When Kazuo Inamori wrote this book, he had stepped away from his business endeavors and shifted his focus to Buddhist practice. Therefore, his thoughts on the meaning of life are deeply influenced by Buddhist philosophy. According to him, people tend to overcomplicate things, which leads to the emergence of all negative emotions such as anxiety, sorrow, anger, irritability, disappointment, and depression. However, the essence of matters is incredibly simple. As long as you act according to certain principles and philosophies of life, and genuinely strive your hardest toward your initial goals, life will suddenly become clear and bright. He once said that life may only last a few decades, but it is not a dreamlike illusion. It holds a profound, great meaning worthy of celebration. If you adhere to the truths of life, life will achieve immortality. What is that truth? Perhaps, as Kazuo Inamori stated at the very beginning of the book, the meaning of life simply lies in 8 words. Elevate your character, polish your soul. So, how can you polish your soul? In essence, by the time you finish this book, you will find that its entire content is woven around 2 life formulas that the author distilled over his lifetime. He wishes to impart these 2 formulas to us as a compass, guiding us on how to live to elevate our character and polish our souls. When your character changes, your soul is upgraded. And when both are achieved, through this very process of improvement, you will know what you need to do, thereby transforming mundane days in a repetitive cycle into vibrant, colorful days filled with passion, love, and self-possession. So, what are these 2 formulas? Formula 1: personality equals innate character plus philosophical mindset. This formula aims to elevate your character. If innate character is a result of genetics, an element you cannot or can hardly change, then philosophical mindset is an element we can control because it gradually forms and changes after we are born. This means that a philosophical mindset can transform your character and help you achieve a nobler personality. However, what is a philosophical mindset, and how should it be changed? Author Kazuo Inamori believes that a philosophical mindset means understanding what it means to be human and what is right. It is the basis for evaluating what you should and should not do in life. Perhaps influenced by his living environment and early education, Inamori realized that the lessons we learned as children, for example, don't lie, don't cause trouble for others, don't be greedy or selfish, and so on, are the simplest and most fundamental philosophical mindsets. If we could rely on such simple philosophies to evaluate our lives and decide whether or not to do something, our lives would be much simpler. However, precisely because of societal influences, we often chase after trends and habits, swayed by our surroundings. For example, we often hear many people answer when asked, "Why should we go to school? To get a good job. Why do we need a good job? To earn money. Why earn money? To build a family. Why build a family? To raise good children." Life repeats in such a cycle. It sounds dreadful, but it reflects how many people pursue societal norms without listening to themselves. You will see that when you try to conform to pre-existing models without listening to yourself, you are simultaneously drifting away from simple philosophy. You might go astray, take the wrong path, and fail to foster the development of your soul and character. So, specifically, how do we change our philosophical mindset? We will discuss this in more detail later. Next, let's move on to Formula 2. Formula 2, results equals attitude x passion x ability. This formula serves as a guiding principle related to something that occupies more than half of our lives: work. Kazuo Inamori says that while people's passion and ability differ, they are at least greater than zero. However, one's attitude can be positive or negative. When a person's attitude is negative, no matter how intense their passion or strong their ability, the likelihood of them making mistakes in their work or becoming negative is very high. Therefore, the most important factor determining life's outcome is how we think and approach things. Looking at world history, Hitler, a person with extremely high passion and ability, yet with a completely misguided attitude, committed the greatest atrocities in human history. Kazuo Inamori greatly admired Yukichi Fukuzawa, whose image is on the 10,000 yen note in Japan. He was the founder of Keio University and is considered the father of modern education in the country. Yukichi Fukuzawa once said that a person needs profound thinking like a philosopher, honesty and integrity like a samurai warrior, combined with the capability of an ordinary public official, plus the health of a farmer, to become a truly talented individual in business. Inamori found that this view perfectly aligns with his second life formula. A correct attitude, coupled with ability and enthusiasm, are the fundamental factors for individual or business success. In summary, from these two formulas, you will see that the most important factor we need to strive to change for better results in both work and life is to change our mindset and broaden our philosophical outlook. So, specifically, how do we change? How do we cultivate ourselves? We will continue to explore this in the next sections. Dare to envision a colorful future in detail and live each day seriously. If you visit bookstores in Ho Chi Minh City, you might notice that on the most prominent shelves, they display best-selling books, often including The Secret. Perhaps many of us know about the law of attraction through this book, which suggests that if you want something, you just need to place an order with the universe by thinking about it, then imagining, visualizing, and believing it to be true, and it will appear. Consequently, countless people daily place orders with the universe, constantly thinking about their desires to become rich, talented, beautiful, own a house and car, meet their ideal partner, and so on. However, the truth is, the more you think about the things you desire, the more it proves that you are lacking them. Therefore, the law of attraction is not simply about daring to think, want, and desire. Kazuo Inamori believes that the saying, "What the mind conceives, it achieves," from the law of attraction holds true because if you haven't even thought about it, how can it happen? But to harness the power of the universe, you must have the ability to imagine and create beyond reality. That is, you must envision a colorful future in detail and completeness, while dedicating all your passion to making it happen. When Kazuo Inamori was crafting exquisite ceramics, a researcher brought him a product. But just by looking at it, Inamori said, "This product is not right." The researcher replied, "I researched it, I understand all its features. Why do you say it's not right?" Inamori stated, "The color isn't right. It's different from what I imagined. The product I envisioned in my mind looked very shiny, but yours is too dull." You see, when ordinary people think about something they desire, they usually only envision a general and vague outcome. As a result, all the goals we pursue or stop at remain merely desires. If you truly aspire to accomplish something, you need to ask yourself if you can imagine a colorful future down to every detail, just like the author, and simultaneously plan to execute it with extreme seriousness and utmost effort. There was a great Japanese explorer named Mitsuoba who walked from the North Pole to the South Pole. Inamori once invited him to give a lecture at his company. When he arrived, Kazuo Inamori greeted him, saying, "You are the most adventurous person I have ever seen." But Mitsuoba replied, "No, don't misunderstand. I am not someone who is good at taking risks. I value my life greatly and am very timid. Therefore, before setting off from the North Pole to the South Pole, I wanted to do everything perfectly. Only with thorough preparation could I ensure that I could return safely." Do you see? We often think of an explorer as someone who dares to take risks. Similarly, a business person is also perceived as a risk taker. This is actually incorrect. An entrepreneur is not someone with an adventurous spirit who dares to take risks, but rather someone who is skilled at managing risks. And the core element of risk management lies in the ability to utilize the law of attraction by thinking carefully about every detail. In his corporate culture, Kazuo Inamori preferred to employ ordinary people who scored around 80 points. He believed that talented individuals often rely on their abilities, making them prone to arrogance. They frequently yearn for a more glorious stage for themselves in the future, without paying much attention to improving the present. The author stated that among the people he knew, no truly talented person could achieve greatness on their own. Therefore, Inamori believed that only by diligently executing every detail, every task, and continuously improving, can all dreams come true. In summary, the law of attraction is not just about thinking about what you want and trusting the outcome wholeheartedly. Instead, you must understand that to turn a genuine aspiration from your heart into reality, first, you must dare to think about it. Then, you must envision a colorful future down to every detail. Finally, focus on improving the smallest things every day and execute them with all your heart. Let the first principle guide you. What is the first principle? Kazuo Inamori believes that before making a decision and solving a problem, we must find a correct starting point. This starting point is your core life principle. It is also considered a guiding philosophy, a compass when you are lost, leading you to live in accordance with the right way of being human. For example, ask yourself, when making a decision, does your life philosophy stem from a desire to show off, or from your true aspirations? Does it come from a place of winning or losing, or from caring about how others perceive you? There's a story. When Japan's bubble economy was booming, everyone could earn huge sums of money just by buying houses. People advised Kazuo Inamori, who had a lot of money, to invest in real estate immediately. But the author thought, what value does buying a house create? Does it bring added value to society? If not, the profits it yields surely won't last long. Therefore, he didn't buy any. As a result, after Japan's bubble economy collapsed and real estate prices plummeted, he suffered no losses, while a huge number of people were trapped for life by unpayable mortgage loans. Thus, in life and work, having a stable starting point is extremely important. So, how do you know what your first principle, starting point is? First, you need to simplify everything that is complex. Why do we make so many things increasingly complicated in life? The reason is that our minds are filled with too many self-serving thoughts. If you only think about your personal benefit, you will find decision-making incredibly difficult. This view is further developed and discussed in his book, Heart, as well. Everything begins in the heart and ends in the heart. He emphasizes that the secret to a happy and successful life stems from a heart that thinks of others. Kazuo Inamori believes that when you can abandon selfish desires, your soul and spirit will be like escaping a traffic jam on a flat road, then ascending to a higher overpass. From this elevated position, you can calmly observe all the complexity and chaos below, and from there, make the right decisions for your life. Second, your starting point needs to begin with a willingness to self-ignite ****. Kazuo Inamori believes that in work, there are 3 types of people: those who don't burn, those who are easily ignited, and those who self-ignite. The first type cannot catch fire even when others try to light them. The second type is easily ignited. Someone just needs to light them, and they will burn brightly. The third type is those who can self-ignite without any external help. So, ask yourself, which type are you? The author advises that when deciding to act, actively stir your own initiative and approach work with all your enthusiasm. If you do everything from this starting point, you won't think of work as something you do for others, but rather as a way to maximize your own energy, thereby gaining long-term opportunities and growth. Regard life as a process of soul training and wisdom improvement **. Finally, a philosophy of life to confront one of modern humanity's greatest contradictions: how to earn money without becoming empty. We have witnessed many successful people who still live miserable lives. Many still believe that to be successful and wealthy, one must sacrifice many things: time, health, family, and so on. But if life is so full of suffering, why strive to earn so much money? And conversely, should we abandon the pursuit of greater wealth? Kazuo Inamori advises that there is only one way to make our lives happier and resolve this contradiction: to regard your work or business as a process of spiritual training. If your venture succeeds, that's wonderful. You can enjoy a better quality of life and fulfill your responsibilities. But if you don't earn money, consider it an opportunity to refine your character and soul. When you can view this life journey as a process of spiritual cultivation, you will find many meaningful things to do. The method to steadfastly pursue this journey of cultivation is to practice the 6 noble practices that the author distilled from his lifelong experience. Implementing these 6 practices also begins with the first principle, starting point, as I previously analyzed: living and working with a compassionate heart that benefits others. 1. Always do good and think of others. 2. Be humble and not arrogant. When you are kind, humble, and understand that your existence is not solely for personal gain, you will naturally become humble and diminish the large, arrogant ego within you. Without a spirit of humility, you will fall into a series of mistakes. Arrogance will hurt others, cause conflicts of interest, and make you feel annoyed or resentful towards many people around you. Therefore, if you still dislike someone, are displeased with someone, or are still angry or sad due to criticism or reprimands from others, please ask yourself if you are being arrogant. Cultivating humility is a crucial direction for shaping your character. 3. Do not let emotions and afflictions dominate. On this journey of cultivation, you will find yourself burdened with many negative emotions: anxiety, pressure, sorrow, and so on. In reality, most afflictions stem from ambition, expectations, and selfishness within you. Someone once asked me, "Don't you feel pressure if someone criticizes your content and videos? What if the viewership drops later?" I don't hope that after every piece of content I create, others must think it's absolutely brilliant. If I had that idea in my head, I would certainly feel stressed and anxious about how others would judge or comment. When selfish, arrogant, and self-important thoughts arise and become powerful, pain naturally follows us. Conversely, when you can reduce the ego's arrogance, you can shed emotional troubles. 4. Strive diligently, second to none. When your perception does not stem from selfish desires, when your mindset casts aside arrogance and becomes peaceful and serene, you may find yourself wanting to focus more on yourself. At this point, strive diligently every day, pouring all your enthusiastic, self-igniting energy into the work you are doing. But what constitutes correct diligence? Many people believe diligence means the ability to endure hardship and poverty. You might be willing to go to work early, leave late, stay up late, wake up early, and work without eating. Is this enduring hardship? Or you might endure immediate poverty, living in cramped, unhygienic, unsafe conditions, eating sparingly, saving, abstaining. Is this enduring hardship? But is this truly correct? Most people have a superficial understanding of what hardship means. Poverty doesn't mean hardship. Poverty means being poor. Enduring hardship is not the ability to endure poverty. You might think you can endure hardship, but in reality, you are only enduring physical pain. Physical pain is the easiest, but spiritual challenges, such as enduring loneliness, maintaining intense focus, discipline, and self-awareness, are much harder. In fact, no matter how much physical suffering and poverty you endure, you cannot change your destiny. As Kazuo Inamori said, the essence of enduring hardship is the ability to focus on a specific goal for a long time. Therefore, we need to reevaluate what true diligence is, so as not to endure hardship in vain. Correct diligence and effort means self-mastery, persistent endurance, combined with deep reflection. The author also advises us that a person's true ability must include curbing desires and dedicating oneself fully to work. Giving up immediate pleasures and entertainment, giving up ineffective social interactions, giving up meaningless consumption, that is the power of self-mastery. Only when you can curb temptation and embrace solitude can you create a difference. The second thing is to enhance your ability for deep reflection. As a writer once said, most people can do busy, repetitive, and endlessly prolonged tasks if they have the conditions. The difficult part is thinking diligently is meaningless without deep reflection. A person who is physically diligent but mentally lazy will often fall into difficult and endlessly busy circumstances. Therefore, as this book asserts, focused and thorough thinking is the core factor for career success. And finally, you must be persistent. Only those who identify a specific field suitable for them and persistently pursue it can receive the gifts of destiny. 5. Self-reflection. Besides diligence, Kazuo Inamori also emphasizes that we must always introspect daily. Self-reflection is to guard against arrogance, listen to others' evaluations with humility, and prevent the ego from spiraling into negative emotions. 6. As long as you live, be grateful. Hold on to sincere gratitude from the bottom of your heart for everything that happens in your life. Why should we be grateful for our current lives? Because only when a person is truly content are they grateful. Humanity's greatest pain is never feeling satisfied. Therefore, when you can express gratitude, you can cultivate contentment in your heart. The more content you are, the less you will suffer from arrogant desires and complacency. The more content you are, the more you will know how to help others. The more content you are, the more at peace and joyful your character, mindset, and soul will become. And the more you live this way, the universe will arrange even better gifts for you. That is the law of attraction, and it is also how you can elevate your soul and lead the rich life you desire. Living in harmony with the flow of the universe and karma. So these are the insights distilled from this book. To conclude today's video, I will leave you with a Buddhist thought that the author deeply trusts. Live in harmony with the flow of the universe and karma. The ancients said, ordinary people fear the consequences, while bodhisattvas fear the cause. We ordinary people often fear retribution, while enlightened beings do not worry about this because they focus on cultivation, not sowing wrong seeds. Living with contentment, morality, and compassion is how we focus on sowing good seeds. Kazuo Inamori believes that the universe has a grand will to design a better world to live in. Therefore, the way we regard ourselves in life as a continuous process of training our minds and souls is precisely how we live in harmony with the flow of the universe. We make the universe better by constantly creating value and thoughts that improve society. When all selfish desires within you diminish, suffering will greatly decrease. I hope all of us can learn and apply the good things from the life philosophy of the esteemed entrepreneur, Kazuo Inamori, to add vibrant colors and reduce the noisy, chaotic cries of our lives in this existence. Thank you for listening.